Teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one podcast on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you already know how I gets down. You already know what this show is all about. You hit the play button, and we have, whether it's just myself speaking or I bring on a guest, we are here to serve you. We're here to get you through the moment. We're here to give you our story as authentically and as transparently as we can give it, just so you're able to get through the moment and know you're not going through life alone. Today, Matt, it's not Matt Shoup, it's Matt Shoup. All right. I gotta tell you, I cannot tell you how much appreciative I am for the work you do, because I myself actually wrote a book. It's right here, called Make Your Move. All right. Unique look into boxing, dance, and entrepreneurship. And I have a chapter in here where it talks about bullies versus teachers. And I spoke a little bit about how I was actually draped up steps and bullied physically by teachers and things like that. And you speak very much of the same language in regards to, and one of the things I talked about was teaching boxing lessons in terms of just having that awareness and having that self-confidence. And you
Yeah,
speak same exact language. You grew up in a situation where you were bullied as a kid, and eventually you were able to build your own jiu-jitsu school, and that was able to get
yeah.
you through a lot of difficult times. So, again, from the heartfelt, appreciate the work you do, and it's so
Thank
important
you.
we teach young people this, and when we make sure that we teach them that they're not alone in these things. I played football, so a lot of these things weren't hitting me at the time, but as I grew up, a lot of these little things were really starting to haunt me and stuff like that. So, all
Yeah.
that being said, I love to kind of just give you I know I kind of stepped on it a little bit, but give you the opportunity to talk a little about in detail of your background, your upbringing, things like that, and then we'll kind of go from there, man.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I'm 42. I'll be 43 next week. Is it next week? This week? It's soon, man.
Young
It's
43,
flown
baby.
by.
Young
Young
43.
43.
State of mind, baby.
I grew up in northern New Jersey, and back in the early 80s, right? And there's a pecking order back there, and you know where you fit in the
Mhm.
pecking order. Any adult now that was a kid in the 80s, that's just kind of how it was. Things are a little bit different, and was an easy target for bullies. Like wasn't the popular kid, wasn't the sports kid. It was they found out pretty quick they could pick on me, smack me around the boys and the girls, and
Mhm.
that's just what I dealt with growing up, right? And I knew nothing about. I just thought that's kind of what life was. We didn't talk about bullying back then. Had no idea how to create or set boundaries. So I grew up scared a lot of going to school and not fitting in. And, I had a big overbite. I think I sucked on my thumb till I was like 10 years old. I had to get headgear in middle school, like Cartman's sister from South Park. You remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Right?
I remember. Yeah,
Headgear.
yeah.
So what I found though to kind of give me some confidence was business. So I'm like, hey, you guys can, beat me up on the playground at school, whatever. I remember moving to Colorado, 10 years old, summertime. Mom, Dad, hey, give me $200. I want to buy a boombox. And they're like, we're not going to do that. Go figure out a way to make your own money.
Yeah.
And I was cutting their grass for $4 a week. I
Just
think that was,
just to pause you there. A
yeah.
boombox is something that we used to actually play music out of. Okay, there
Oh,
was a
explain what that is. Yeah,
yeah,
our
there
listeners
was a
may not know.
time where that you actually had to buy a boombox, you bought a CD, and made a tape, you had to record, you had to wait
Yeah,
till the radio guy stopped talking so you get the song, and then they actually played the music on a
yeah.
boombox. Just giving
And
you
you
a
could plug you could
history
plug it
lesson.
in, or you could put
You
like
can plug it
12
in,
double
right?
D batteries in it and carry the 40-pound thing on your shoulder, right?
Right.
And this was when compact discs started coming out. So you had the CD, that's a compact disc.
Yes.
It's like a little plate, right, that had music on it.
Right.
And you could carry that around. So, but my parents were like, no, we're not going to pay you money, figure it out. And I said, well, I'm making $4 a week to cut your grass. Can I just go cut other people's grass? And knock on a door, ask, hey, can I cut your grass for $20? The lady says, sure, just do a good job. This little old lady. I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
That was the first time I, went out, took initiative, asked for something, set a goal, was told yes, was given confidence. So I started really building my confidence in the business space. And it was kind of these two worlds. Like then I go back to the playground and just catch a whooping.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go make a couple $100 this weekend. So snow shoveling, peddling candy, would have been a drug dealer. So a lot of the kids I kind of rolled and ran with in New Jersey, some of them aren't around anymore. They're dead. They're in prison.
Hmm.
They're disappeared. So that business interest, that knock on a door, make something happen out of nothing, continued. And then I ended up finding a college painting company in
Right.
college. So kind of the business journey was They reignited my passion for making money. And again, I had almost this unhealthy relationship with money giving me confidence and certainty.
Hmm.
So I'd be in a better mood when I had it, in a less better mood when I didn't have it.
Hmm.
But that turned into college painting, turned into a really big painting and roofing company that we have here in Northern Colorado. So I've, grown that business. We do some real estate. The Jiu-Jitsu Academy was kind of a fun accident and alignment of events. But early on into my business journey, right before my son was born, I was about 3, 4 years into business. I was growing my business just purely out of anger and something to prove. So, kind of the first point I wanted to make is like, if you're an adult now
Hmm.
and you were a child that went through bullying, that leaves a mark on you. That definitely leaves like programmings and ways you view the world. And it can leave a lot of unhealthy, unhelpful habits and things. And I talk to kids about this now when their parents bring them in. I said, we want to, break that, the earlier the better.
Right.
And I was just super mad, right? Like everything to prove. And then on top of that, I walked into a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu academy. I'm 27 years old,
Right.
200 plus pounds, strong, going to the gym every day. And UFC was really popular. I'm like, I want to do that because
Yeah.
I'm tough.
I remember
I
when
want
that
to
was
make,
a good thing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
want to make money and beat guys up. And this was my attitude, right? And it was just pure like scared little kid with something to prove that,
Mhm.
still was very insecure. So I walk into this gym and I'm a big guy and I'm like, I want to do boxing, kickboxing. They're like, sorry, you missed that class, but jujitsu is next.
Mhm.
And I kind of knew jujitsu was the stuff that happened on the ground in like a mixed martial arts fight. These guys are wearing pajamas, rolling around, sweating everywhere. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. They said, okay, come out and try a class. And they said, we're going to put you with Timmy. And Timmy is 14. He's like half my age, 130 pounds. He's half my size. I'm like, you sure? They're like, yeah, just go with Timmy. And they said, take it easy on him though.
Mhm.
And they knew what was about to happen. Timmy had been training a couple of years, went out
They
there.
they knew, but they told you to take it easy on him.
Yeah, and they squeezed my big bicep
Yeah,
and hey,
yeah.
take it easy, guy. I'm like, oh, I was like, Timmy's about to get it. That's what I'm thinking, right? I'm like, I'm gonna go smash Timmy
I gotta know where
and
you're
then
going with
go
this
back to business tomorrow. And yeah, you know what's about to happen. You know. Anybody that trains knows. And I charge after this kid,
one. Right.
and I literally charge after him. And this is after they told me, hey, the goal is just put him on his back, get on top of him. Don't worry about submissions. Just like pin him down. And if you watch UFC, try one of those chokes or try an armbar. They're
Yeah.
like, that might happen, might not. I'm like, I'm gonna smash Timmy, right? So go after him. He, grabs me as I'm pushing forward, flips me
Oh,
over his head.
oh
I'm
man.
on my back. He's on top of me. Like, okay, now I'm pissed.
Hmm.
He's 130 pounds. I bench press 300 pounds, right? So I'm just like,
Right.
I'm gonna throw him off, and I push him away, and he
Mhm.
spins around my arm and cranks it
Hmm.
in an arm bar, right? I'm like, and I look over, and I'm like, what do I do? They're like, oh yeah, make sure you tap if you want him to stop. So I'm tapping out
Right.
just repeatedly, right? And every time this happens, I get more angry, more upset, more energy, and I just get humiliated, right? And again, like I'm 27, I have something to prove. So of course I'm going to come back because I'm like, man, if he can do that to me, I'm gonna go do that to other people. So like sitting here today, 20 almost 20 years later, teaching kids having a purpose and a passion, it did not start that way. When
Exactly.
when I stepped on the mats, I was there for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. The thing about a lot of what you just shared is it definitely gives a very important lesson towards serial entrepreneurship because it started as an outlet. It started as something that first of all, you're taking the initiative, you're going out, you're knocking on doors, you're getting rejected, all that, and you're going through something where you're learning how to present yourself and offer services at a very young age.
Yes.
But the thing about serial entrepreneurship is there are going to be mistakes along the way. All right. And I want to make sure we explain all of those things towards the listeners because it's not all
Yeah.
peachy at all. If and you had spoken a little bit about when you were in college and you found this painting company. There were times when you started where you actually painted the wrong house. And let me tell you, Matt, when I was listening to it, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine because I know the thing is that's hard labor. but to actually go paint and, I'm not sure what the weather was like and do all that, but then to realize once it's done, it's like it's the wrong house and then it's your name is associated with
Oh yeah.
that. So kind of talk
Yeah.
a little bit about, the way you overcame mistakes and how you kind of have to be prepared for the mistakes. So that way people know, hey, if I'm going to get in the business, I better get ready for a fight club. It's not a fashion show. It's going to be a fight club. And you got to really kind of drop your nuts a little bit and figure things out.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because back in early 2000s when we started the business, there wasn't all of this social media, right? Where you could like posture and paint a picture of perfection. So, you have me as a guest on the podcast, right? We'll back up a little bit. Hey, this is Matt Shoup, serial entrepreneur, author, jiu-jitsu black belt. You're just punching them with my shiny marketing brochure, right? So builds credibility. But that almost puts me at a place maybe to some listeners where like you just can't relate at a human level. It's like look at all this success, all this A+ 5 star. I call it the shiny marketing brochure. And entrepreneurs, maybe you're sitting at a dead end job or you want to start a business and you start scrolling on social and you got to remember there's all these paid ads and people want your money and that's great. That's their business model, but they're just painting this reality of you're going to be a millionaire on a yacht, driving the Lambo, whatever, big house with the pool, and yeah, you get kicked in the nuts repeatedly
Yes.
every day. So the story, goes like this. I roll through college painting and just kind of learned about the business. We actually didn't have any crazy like massive mishaps, little here, little there. But 3 years into M&D painting, we go out and the big tornado happens in northern Colorado. So we ended up painting just entire streets full of houses. I mean, we're just packed full of work, and we're on this job. The mom comes out. She's holding her baby, right, and she's bringing the guys drinks and snacks and everything. And they were on their last day of the paint job. I'm 20 minutes away making a bank deposit, and my painter Raul calls me. And this guy's just the coolest guy. He's a little jokester. So he'd call me once a week. Hey, Mateo, Mateo. He's a guy from Mexico, right? And I
Right.
speak a little Spanish, so we'd play
Right. Right.
around. He's like, I spilled the paint on the deck. The lady's pissed, man. And he'd fire me up because I'm easy to get fired up. I'm like highly caffeinated. So I'm
Right.
at the bank and the phone keeps ringing and it's him. And it's like, dude, leave me alone. Like, give me 10 minutes to make a bank deposit. I leave. I've got 9 missed calls. So I call the guy back. And Mateo, come quick. Oh my gosh, the paint, the boom, the lady, the baby, Mateo, I paint the baby. And the paint sprayer, he's spraying a door, black, semi-gloss paint. Paint sprayer explodes
Oh my
all
God.
over him. The house, the landscape, the baby, like the 9 month old baby gets painted. And that's a disaster. So I've got to, run over there, triage, and I pull up. It's like a crime scene just with paint everywhere instead of blood. And in that moment, like that's when we had to step up as a company for that customer. Like things were not going well. They were bad. Like we almost seriously hurt a baby.
Mhm.
And we made everything right. We had to replace the clothes and the landscape and a lot of things cost a lot of money, a lot of time, but they were happy at the end of the day. But I'm like, man, that story, we're not putting that in our marketing. That's bad. That's a mishap. We painted the wrong house once. There was the same address on a drive and a court of the same street name
Yep.
that my painters to the court. And I pull up to the drive and I said, hey, where are you guys? They said, we're looking for the paint. We have the house scraped, primed. We even trimmed the lady's bushes just to be nice because her bushes were really bushy.
Right.
And I'm like, where are you guys? They're like, we're on 2712 Blue Sky Court. So like totally wrong house.
Oh my God.
But the point is, so why I share all that is Painted Baby really came into importance 3 years after Painted Baby happened. I am sitting across the table about to close the biggest deal of my life, and this guy will not sign the contract. But Bill, I'm M&E painting. We're successful, 98.7. I'm punching him with the marketing brochure. And he literally picks up my brochure, throws it across the table. Matt, I don't care about that. This thing is crap. You just put this together to look really nice. I want to know about a time you screwed up.
Oh my gosh.
And again, like people want to know if you say you have integrity, when am I going to know that you have integrity? It's when you have an opportunity not to have integrity and you actually have integrity,
Mm.
right? Like if you say you're honest and there's no opportunity to lie, are you really honest or were you just by default presenting that quality? So he's like, tell me about a time you screwed up. And I said, well, we painted the wrong color once. on a
Mhm.
house? He's like, yeah, whatever. I go, we painted the wrong house, right? Right color, wrong house.
Mhm.
And he leans in, and I'm like, still, he wasn't signing. I'm like, well, fine, man. I'm gonna tell you about Painted Baby. And that was the first time I shared that story about Raul and the paint gun and Mrs. Angelo and her baby.
Yeah.
And he signed the contract.
Wow.
So I really, at that moment, I said, we live in this world where perfect life, perfect wife, perfect vacation, it's all over Instagram. And you show up to another engagement with a human and everybody's just posturing. And you can't build trust and relationship and connection without vulnerability and truth.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that because I do think that is incredibly important for people to understand and listen to as you're going about building your businesses. I actually had a similar situation. It was actually right after college. I was a scout for a scouting company, and the the company was supposed to handle all the video. So I go and I recruit the family, I get all the video, and I get all of this stuff ready. And then the mother calls me and says, I'm incredibly disappointed with it, angry because it's the wrong kid and they messed the
That's
whole.
not my son.
That's also it's not my damn son. And I'm like, all right. So I calmed her down and I said, all right, is everything? I'll make sure it gets taken care of. And immediately I called the person. And so much that happens in those situations is you have
Yeah.
to be the calming presence. You, as the business owner, you have got to make sure you talk to these people, like he said, as humans, as
Yeah.
people. Do not act like you're high and mighty and that you have the perfect company because that's going to lead you nowhere. It's going to lead you nowhere. You have to make sure
Yeah.
you're speaking to them in a tone that's going to calm them down. So, all that being said, you were able to obviously build from that. And, it stopped being just about painting. Now you got into, I think you developed into some real estate, some landscaping, roofing, all that. Can you
Yeah.
speak on, especially with serial entrepreneurs, because it's hard to figure out what your next move is going to be, especially
Yeah.
when you made one thing successful. Can you talk about what your process is about how do you decide what you're going to do next? I even think you actually mentioned being an avid coffee guy as well, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah. And we got an
So,
idea right now that it's
so
it's been popping up for the last 2 years. And I'll share it with you. And my
exactly. So
team.
yeah, speak
Yeah.
on what your
Yeah.
process is towards what's going to make sense in the future. Because I know it's bigger than just money. It's a matter of how
It
you
is.
actually serve people and stuff like that.
And I think it goes back. So back to my childhood story, they're like, hey, sit down, shut up, do what you're told, follow the rules. I'm like, but my brain doesn't work like that.
Mm,
And most 5, 6, 7, 8 year old boys, they don't either, right? But my brain was always just going a million miles an hour, and they were trying to force me as a kid to look at things this way, that there's one way, and I said, but what about this? And they're like, you're a distraction, go to the principal's office. So I think a lot of serial entrepreneurs, they tried to diagnose me with ADD, right? And I think the solution to that is drugs. And I'm like, hey, just because you can't keep up with my brain and creativity, that shouldn't be, my problem. So
right.
I think we have that. We kind of have that natural attention deficit where we just understand things differently, or we find this gifting. But for me, I got fired from a bank. I left college painting. I
Mm,
thought I was going to be mortgage Matt, suit and tie, and that lasted very briefly. I got fired, 6 figures in debt. I had $100 left to my name, and I had to go make X amount of dollars in X amount of days. So M&D painting was founded or started out of just pure necessity.
mm,
But I think for a lot of serial entrepreneurs, you'll relate, you get going and there's just all these shiny objects. Well, this might be cool, and coffee might be cool, and sales training might be cool, and this might be cool. And we started entertaining this. So I think you've got to make sure as a serial entrepreneur, is your first business at a point where you have some bandwidth to step away and explore other things.
mhm,
And I would literally get an idea on a Friday night and then back in the office Monday morning, set up the LLC. I'm already telling people I'm doing it,
mhm,
and it would be a little bit too fast. So you want to be okay to explore things. But my wife and I, we get in a lot of fights about this. She's like, Matt, M&E's doing fine, and now you want to go do this. Now you want to go do real estate.
mhm.
Why do you want to do this? How does it tie together? And you've got to have people in your life that can create some guardrails.
Yeah.
I know a lot of serial entrepreneurs, the spouse, typically, not always, but many times, they can kind of be the, hey, you're about to go jump off a cliff. You have no parachute. Let me just give you a parachute, remind you what a parachute is, make sure the people involved are going to be okay. But then I just want to jump off the cliff. And I'm like, you're crapping on my dreams, Emily. and we have that. So I
Well,
think
I'm
so.
glad you brought that up because I want to
Yeah,
make sure we bring that you brought her in the conversation because it's not just about your spouse. It's more so about making sure that there are people who are around you that are not yes men. All right. If you
yeah,
want to
oh yeah,
build this thing out, you
yeah,
got to get around folks that are going to make you uncomfortable. They're going to tell you, look, that will not work. We are not set in stone.
yes,
And so often do people look at entrepreneurship as if it's me, 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 me. No, it is a very selfless thing to do to be an entrepreneur because you
yeah,
have to think about how everyone's going to eat. You can't think about, okay, I'm happy with this amount of money and this salary. No, it's not just about you. How is your family going to eat? How are you going to put food on table? How's your kids going to eat? How are you going to build generational wealth? How are you going to do things for
yeah,
your community? All of these questions have to be in place. And if you have yes men around you, it will not work. I'm telling you right
no.
now, not going to work for you. So go ahead.
And you don't need too many of those people that will shoot it straight. But I think, serial entrepreneurs, we just are naturally, hey, let's take a risk, let's jump into things. We have this alchemist mentality of just we'll create something out of nothing and it's gonna work.
Right.
But again, if you only have so much bandwidth, right, of time, your own time,
Mhm.
your money or investors' money, and then the resources of people, systems, and things around you. So again, I would just jump into things.
Mhm.
And that caused a lot of instability. Like my wife, she wants security and stability. And she's like, Matt, you just got fired, started this business. It's going well. Now
Mhm.
we want to shake things up. So that's been a continued conversation. But I think as a serial entrepreneur, a lot of other people will look at you and almost kind of paint that as like it's a disorder or it's a problem. No, it's a gift.
Mhm.
Lean into it, but you've got to just, we typically have to slow ourselves down a little
Yeah.
bit, make sure we've got some good people that can speak honestly, speak truth to us. And, but be okay to take the risk. And
Right.
some of us just, we need new things. It energizes me. We're exploring this really cool coffee cart concept
Mhm.
that's pretty unique right now that actually ties all the businesses together. It does something really cool for the community
Mhm.
and it's going to help a lot of people. But I just got to slow down a little bit.
Right, but like you, I've one of the and another part I actually talk about in this book is I've become addicted to cardio. I run every single morning. It's the way I sort out so much shit in my brain, so many
Yeah.
ideas, so many things, so many people. I have to get my run in every single morning. And for you, it was actually jujitsu. So can you, I
Yeah.
know you stepped on it, I know you spoke on it a little bit early, but I want to give
Yeah.
you the opportunity to go into detail about exactly how it helps you as a businessman, how it helps you with your decisions, how it actually makes it so your mindset keeps you from going off and chasing those shiny objects. Get a
Yeah.
couple sessions in, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm back, man. Let's make the right decision just
Yeah.
for the moment.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu is really cool. And I encourage everybody just at least to go try a class because it teaches you how to be under immense amounts of physical and mental, psychological pressure
Mhm.
and not freak out and just chill and use leverage and timing and technique to escape and defend yourself from something and then attack and ultimately submit somebody.
Right.
So I mean when I first got out there, again, a lot of ego was like I want to kick somebody's ass. I mean that's all it was about. But then as I reflect back on the journey, received my black belt in 2020, and that's always kind of like the ultimate thing. It's very hard to get a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and then they put the belt on me, and I'm like, man, I just feel like I'm restarting. But
You have to
right
like
about that.
compete matches and all that, or like actually go
No,
physical.
some schools make you compete, but typically it's going to be your time, just your time that you put in, just your rounds and your time, obviously your technique, and just continuing that journey.
Yeah. My dad
But what it
was
teaches you,
well, I spent time as a Krav Maga,
yeah,
not an instructor, but I was like selling the Krav Maga self-defense classes, and it was a similar process.
yeah, and I did Krav about 4 years before jujitsu, and I think they had kind of different like levels and everything to be like certified instructor. But yeah, typically you train within a network or an affiliation that is ultimately run by one of the Brazilians, right, that brought jujitsu over here, and they've kind of got a set of standards, and everybody's a little bit different.
Mhm.
But I mean, what it's taught, right, is you go in there, and however bad the day, the business, maybe your relationship, like whatever's going on,
Right.
you've got to go focus and you can forget about all of that. And I think it's really cool to be in a community where like, hey man, I'm going to come out, I'm going to try to choke you, right? And then we're going to go have a beer after and or coffee or whatever and be
That was
buds.
the best part. It's like
Yeah.
yes, so many people had a similar story. When I
Yeah.
it was people just coming in and like we'll go at it on rounds, we'll fight each other, but after it's just we go have fun, have a beer, do something. And because our confidence was growing, and you kind of
Yeah.
felt people gelling together as friends, and that's I
Yeah.
mean, the football guy, that was the part I genuinely miss, is really
Yeah.
kind of smashing each other's heads, and then the next day, look, we're friends, we're teammates, and we roll with it, man. That's an awesome
It,
part.
it was funny because like to pull that out a little bit, I was in a
Yeah,
tournament and there was a guy's a big guy, strong guy, and he's like poking me. He's a wrestler, so he's like poking me in the
yeah,
head. My head was all bruised, and
right.
he actually picked me up and like dumped me into my son, who's maybe 5 at the time, and like we were getting into it. I'm like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah.
We want to hurt each other. And then we're at the next tournament. I'm talking to him, like high fiving him, and my son Riley's like, dude, that's the guy that threw you into me. Shouldn't you be mad at him? I'm like, no, that was just jujitsu.
Yes,
But
and it's
yeah,
awesome for the kids to see that, so they know it's
yeah,
nothing personal. It's just a matter of getting a good workout in, and then
yeah,
ultimately teaching how to defend themselves. That
yeah,
it's a great thing. Again, I second, I echo what you said. Please go out and try it. Please go out and do something of that
yeah,
nature, whether it's just
yeah,
for physical aspect, mental health aspect, but to build that community, it's something that
yeah.
truly is going to be beneficial.
And just a couple other, and this is actually a book idea, but just a couple other kind of thoughts about it is you don't have to be the biggest, strongest person to win, right? You need to be resourceful. So Timmy, he's 130 pounds. He, on paper, I should have smashed this guy. You might be a new business with $100 left and not a big marketing budget, and you just have this desire. It's like be resourceful with what you have. Let somebody else make a move in business that you can piggyback off of, and
Mhm.
create a way. So just being resourceful,
Mhm.
using leverage, timing, patience, and then jujitsu is a journey, right? Where you step on the mats and you kind of get your ass kicked at first, and that's how business is. You go find out where you're at, but you never want to compare yourself to other people. That can be the death of a business of a lot of things. So like worry where you're at now, and then where you're at in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Look back and say, hey, could I beat or outperform, out business that person from a year ago? Absolutely. And don't worry about what the other companies or the other people are doing. Use them as some motivation. But jujitsu was huge about that, and you're always learning. There's always something to learn, and at the end of the day, we get sometimes a little too tied up with business. Like there's a lot on the line, but like, hey, if it doesn't work out, you can tap out and reset. Like it's not failure. It's just, hey, let's reset, reevaluate, and then re-engage.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask you too, because I've been a member of but did a lot of sales for a lot of different fitness industries or fitness gyms. None of them are in business anymore. They've all shut down, permanently closed. It's no longer available. And it wasn't there. They're obviously these owners, like these stubborn owners that I dealt with. They're going to blame COVID, but I saw the writing on the wall long before COVID. They weren't going out and selling. They weren't going out and doing the
Yeah.
numbers. They were staying in this comfort zone, and they weren't getting new people in. How were you
Yeah.
able build your school and still maintain the mentality of I got to bring new people in? It can't just be a club where I'm only bringing my friends in. I'm actually going to be doing business for the gym,
Yeah.
because again, one of the biggest gripes I have with a lot of these owners is you weren't thinking about the people that were working for you. You weren't thinking about the sales associates that were
Yeah.
depending on you as an owner to make these decisions to get us in front of more people. You're just hanging out with your buddies or hanging out with the people that were going to walk in the door.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because we talk about this, I think, in the Brazilian jiu-jitsu world, and I can only observe I can observe it with other types of martial arts, but you have kind of the hey bro, let's start a gym kind of sweat box. Hey, everybody drop your $80 a month in this shoebox, like
Yeah,
maybe on time mentality, right? Like club.
exactly. We have a
And
lot
then
of them.
on
I'm
the
in
other
Florida, man.
side,
There's a
yeah.
slew of them. And they up
Hey
and they
bro, did you pay last month? I don't know. Come train, right? Oh, do we pay rent? So there's
right.
that. That's like that doesn't work. And then you also have this like a McDojo is what they're called, where you walk in and it's so put together and it's so salesy. And this pisses me off. Like I'm gonna get on a soapbox, like to
Please do.
tell
Yes.
the mom and dad of a kid who's getting his ass whooped and bullied at school that he's gonna be a little tiger black belt of something in 8 months if you pay us $8,000, right? I think it just sets up this total false confidence. And you see, not just that, but these gyms, it's so salesy and like they lock you in. Like you've got to have certainty and security. You
Mhm.
can't be the sweatbox bro gym. But then I also see where it's like you're losing the essence of what jujitsu actually is, but you've got to be somewhere in between. Like you need there's a lot of churn. There's a lot of people that are going to quit jujitsu. So what we do, we were kind of month to month and we were watching the fallout. Now what we do is we have them commit to 3 months
Hmm.
because we say, listen, like if you can get past that 90-day mark,
Right.
that's where you really start getting some traction. And then we offer like lifetime memberships and other things. But you've got to treat anything like a business. You need to put more in than what's going out. And any kind of gym, I'm assuming boxing, anything, right? Like there's a lot of out the back door business going on where you're losing revenue.
Exactly. And it's also important to mention that you weren't a personal trainer before. This wasn't something that you're doing
No.
to get clients and then you had enough clients, you got tired of the owner and now you're going to start your own gym. And like you had mentioned, I'm charging 8,000 for 8 months because that's what you did as a personal trainer. But now you got to think
Yeah.
of the bigger picture and how to be creative with your money
Yeah.
mindset, creative with how you offer your service and how you actually posture and structure your business. That's the biggest transition that a lot of these owners, especially in the fitness world, you're not figuring out ways to make that transition in terms of you're no longer a personal trainer. All right. Now you got to think about the industry and the fitness business as a whole. So,
And you can be great at the craft, like you can be a great jujitsu practitioner, awful business person, or vice versa. And I think you've also got to think about the culture, right? So, jujitsu kind of has certain stigmas and just certain things that we don't like about the business, where there's kind of this tough guy meathead. Okay, when somebody walks in, you kick their ass to show them where they are in the food chain. I'm like, all right, well, mate, like I know that's how jujitsu got brought here originally, but I
right.
don't think that's a great business model. We've got like women that were sexually abused here, and they're coming in. It's like, you want to kick her ass? Like she's not coming back. That's not helping her. And how cool is that? Not so. You build this culture of who you want to serve and how you want to serve them, and you will continue to attract certain people that fit that. And then, we're not for everybody. So there's certain people that we say, hey, I think this is going to be a better fit for you, for your kiddo.
Yeah, it is a safe space. Now you actually just made me think of another former client I had who, out of nowhere, she used to come every single morning. This was when I was a boxing trainer at 9 Round. Out of nowhere, she told us about her previous husband that would absolutely beat her in domestic abuse. So, I mean, all these things, and it hit me so hard, man, that
Yeah,
I realized how much we were helping her by simply putting gloves on her every single
yeah,
morning. And if you see this lady, she would probably kick quite a few dudes' ass because
yeah.
it'd be funny because I'd let her kind of punch me in my stomach before she leave every day, and I'm like, well, these
Hmm.
are getting
Bam.
it's getting a little hard now. I'm like, I don't know if I could keep letting you do this, but the mindset in a way kind of eased her mind to know that she was able to protect herself. It's something that
Yeah.
is truly, truly important, and I, like I said, I encourage everybody to go out and try it and just do something that is going to benefit you in so many different ways. So, Matt, I do want to be respectful of your time, and I want to give you the opportunity and the platform because you have a lot going on. You have jujitsu, you got some coffee, you got real estate, you got roofing, you got painting, and all that. What would you say is the next thing? What can we expect? How is this thing going to grow for you? I know you have a book, and you have a book coming out too. So, I want to give you
Yeah.
the microphone here and just talk a little bit about what's next, what do you have coming down the pipeline, all that good stuff.
I just want to share, to anybody
Let's
listening,
go.
like wherever you're at in your journey, right? Whether we're talking jujitsu, business, coffee, whatever, just like reach out. However, my story can help. I can be a resource or an inspiration.
Mhm.
Just go check out mattshoup.com. Reach out to me. But what we've been working on for the last year, and it's actually just like I've got 5,000 of these in my garage. It's
Nice.
illustrated kids book. JJ learns jujitsu. So it's the story of a bullied boy who discovers his inner voice and strength through finding Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And it's just a fully full color illustrated book. It's got a resource discussion guide link in the back for parents and kids to just start talking about what bullying is, what that looks like,
Mhm.
how to create boundaries and not be an easy target. But it was cool because I really got to share my story through JJ, and I've got some of my life's heroes that make little cameos in the book, and really just get to share a very engaging story. And obviously, I want kids to have hope that are being bullied, but I also want to use this as a platform to introduce people to jujitsu, as well as have other jujitsu schools use this book as a resource to bring more children into their academies.
What was the publishing process like?
So this is my third book. It was the first time I've done an illustrated kids book. So really, I mean, 99% of the story gets told through the illustrations, right? There's not a lot of words in a kids book. So I wrote out the story and kind of how I wanted it to play out. And then Meg Chestnut, who is the illustrator, this was actually her first book. And I mean, she did a knockout job. We would sit down like once a week, sometimes every other week, and just say, how do we tell this story in illustrations? So we've got,
Oh, man, that's awesome.
yeah, we got JJ, kind of what he's going
Yeah.
through, with the bullies at school,
Huh.
and we just worked it out, and then we started sketching it, doing the coloring, and then you basically have this layout that you have to get laid out and take to a printer. I tell you what, this has been my least favorite book to get pushed out to Amazon because I'm having a lot of trouble with them right now. Just just receiving the book and checking it in. Like half of them are lost. I don't know where they are.
Right.
They're at Amazon but not available. But I mean, it's a fun process, and it's just like anything. I've reached out to people that were in the children's book space before for resources and connections. But it was about a year, a little over a year from, hey, I've got this idea to like book in hand that I can go hand to a kid, that's being bullied and help them out.
Yeah, well, I teach at I'm actually at the school now. It's called the Center for Creative Education, and brand new startup school. We deal with a lot of these similar issues, and my whole thing is figuring out how to create more bulk orders, to create orders where it requires, it's regular, it becomes part of the regular
Hmm.
curriculum for the students, because as the regular listeners have heard me say on this show on multiple occasions, it's what you give the child to read that's going to dictate their reading levels and what they like doing and things like that. You don't just want to give them some bullshit. You want to give them some things that are going
Yeah.
to apply to their lives, and you'll start to see those reading scores go up. So that's why I walk
Yeah.
around with these. I make sure actually when the kids see
Yeah.
this, like, oh yeah, you play football, Mr. Hazard, and all those things. So as business owners, intellectual property is incredibly important. I know nowadays AI does a whole lot for you, but you want to establish yourself as a thought leader, as the head of an organization, having intellectual property, knowing that you can use it even if it's just as a business card, putting your story out there. These things are incredibly, incredibly important. As we were talking about serial entrepreneurship before, it dictates your next step, because
Yeah.
now your audience knows that you can go to your audience, and then you can decide based on what your audience wants. Now this is the next move. This is the next move. This is the next move. This is the
Yep.
next move. So, all that being said, I know you had mentioned it before. Can you just kind of put the website out there one more time? I'll include it in the show notes, but how
Oh
they
yeah.
get with you and all that good stuff. So,
Yeah, it's mattshoup.com. So MATTSHOUP.com.
all right. So, Matt, the way I close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination just a little bit. Go back to being the 10-year-old boy. You're rough. You're going through listen, I went to Stony Brook. I went to school with a lot of Jersey cats, so I know exactly when
Oh
you
yeah.
get your jersey. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you meant. Just go back to being that young kid. Pretend that he's coming to the Zoom room now. 42-year-old Matt, give him some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close you out.
Yeah, I would tell him, and I've thought a lot about this, especially with this book, is man, the things you're going through right now that are awful and that suck and that you don't want in your life, or are the things that are going to mold you, shape you, forge you, and you will be okay.
Mm.
And you are amazing. And I love you. I believe in you. You've got this. Go get it.
That's it, straight to the point. And the important part about that, and for the regular listeners, they know I close out the shows with that question all the time. The important part about this is you said you thought about it. It's important that you think about
Yep.
this every day. Think about your younger self and just tell yourself every single day you are enough, you are worthy. Because if you don't think about it enough, you're gonna end up repeating these same bad patterns. And I've seen that happen quite a bit. So constantly think
Yeah.
about situations and think about how you can improve and things of that nature. So all that
Yeah.
being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.